my wife said. You ruined our marriage. I replied, his wife sent me the proof. Then I quietly hired the best family lawyer in the city, started a secret log of every lie for the custody battle, and moved my paycheck to a new account she can't touch. I just smiled, because his wife didn't just send proof. She sent me everything, and I'm waiting for the right moment to use it. Bought. Original post. I am 34. My wife, Jessica, is 33. We have been married for 7 years. We have 2 daughters, a 5-year-old named Lily and a 2-year-old named Mia. Our life from the outside looked perfect. We had a nice house in a quiet suburb. I have a stable job in logistics, and Jessica is a stay-at-home mom. I thought we were happy. I thought we were a team. Don't miss the twist. Subscribe and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. The change was subtle. About a year ago, Jessica started becoming more protective of her phone. It used to be left on the kitchen counter, but now it was always in her back pocket or clutched in her hand, screen down. She set a new, complex password and turned off all notifications on the lock screen. When I asked about it, she said she was having issues with spam calls. I did not think much of it. Then came the new hobbies. She joined a book club that met twice a week, always in the evenings. She started going to a new gym on the other side of town because it had a better yoga class, she said. She was gone from the house more than ever. When she was home, she was distant. Our conversations became purely logistical about the kids or the bills. The warmth was gone. I tried to talk to her. I suggested date nights. I offered to watch the kids so she could have a day to herself. She always had an excuse. She was too tired. The book club had a special event. Her yoga class was running late. I felt a growing sense of unease, a cold knot in my stomach that told me something was wrong. But I had no proof. I just had a collection of small, unsettling changes that, on their own, seemed insignificant. The truth did not come from me finding a suspicious text message or a receipt in a coat pocket. The truth came to me on a Tuesday afternoon, delivered in a Facebook message request from a woman I had never met. Her name was Sarah. Her profile picture showed her with her husband and 2 young sons. The message was short. As your wife, Jessica. It read, "We need to talk. I think her book club is my husband." Attached to the message was a screenshot. It was a location share from an iPhone, showing 2 pins right next to each other at a Holiday Inn near the airport. One pin was labeled, "My husband." The other was labeled, "Jessica." The screenshot was time-stamped from the previous Thursday night, a night Jessica had told me her book club went late because they were celebrating a member's birthday. I stared at the image for a long time. The world seemed to go silent. There was no rage, no shouting. Just a profound, hollow shock. I felt the floor drop out from under me. I looked at the picture of Sarah and her family, and then I thought of my own 2 little girls playing in the next room. I accepted her message request and wrote back a single word, "Les." I closed my laptop. A few hours later, Jessica came home from running errands. She kissed the girls, then gave me a quick, passionless peck on the cheek. She asked what I wanted for dinner. I looked at her, at the woman I had built my life with, and I knew I was looking at a complete stranger. I told her I was not hungry. I did not confront her. I just watched her move around the kitchen, her phone clutched in her hand, and I planned my next move. Update 1. My conversation with Sarah, the other wife, was like looking into a twisted mirror. Over the next 2 days, we exchanged messages, then spoke on the phone. Her husband, David, worked in sales and traveled frequently. He and Jessica had met at a work conference nearly a year ago. The affair started almost immediately. Her story aligned perfectly with the changes I had seen in Jessica. The late-night book club meetings, the sudden interest in a gym across town, the secretive phone habits. Sarah had been suspicious for months. She had installed a location tracking app on his phone, which is how she got the screenshot she sent me. Sarah was a woman who did not waste time with tears. She was methodical, angry, and organized. She sent me everything she had. Copies of hotel receipts, screenshots of their texts, even a link to a secret social media account where they shared pictures from their meetups. The scope of the deception was breathtaking. It was a whole secret life, lived in parallel to the one I was a part of. The confrontation had to be precise. I knew Jessica's patterns. She was a narcissist. If I accused her, she would deny, deflect, and gaslight me. She would make it my fault. I needed to remove her ability to control the narrative. I waited until Sunday. Her parents were coming over for dinner, a weekly tradition. Jessica cared deeply about appearances, especially in front of her family. Her parents adored me and saw our family as the picture of stability. I knew she would not want that image shattered. Dinner was tense. I was quiet, offering short, one-word answers to questions. Jessica kept shooting me annoyed looks. After we put the girls to bed, we all sat in the living room. Her father was telling a story about his golf game. I waited for him to finish. Then, in the quiet moment that followed, I spoke. "Jessica," I said, my voice calm and even. "I need to ask you about your book club." She froze. "What about it?" she asked, her voice tight. "I was just wondering which book you're reading," I said. "Is it the Holiday Inn by the airport?" The color drained from her face. Her parents looked at me, then at her, confused. "What are you talking about?" her mother asked. Jessica found her voice. "He's been going through my phone," she said, her voice rising with manufactured outrage. "He's become so paranoid and controlling. I can't even have a hobby without him accusing me of something." It was exactly what I expected. The immediate lie, the immediate attack. I did not engage. I simply took out my phone, pulled up the first screenshot Sarah had sent me, and placed it on the coffee table in front of her parents. "This is your daughter's location last Thursday night," I said quietly. "And this," I said, swiping to a picture of her and David, smiling, with their arms around each other, "is the author." Her mother gasped. Her father stared at the phone, his face turning a dark shade of red. Jessica was trapped. Her lies had nowhere to go. She did not break down and cry with remorse. She exploded with rage. "You ruined this," she screamed at me. "You ruined our family. This is your fault. If you had been a better husband, if you were not so boring, maybe I would not have needed to find happiness somewhere else." Her parents were speechless. They were seeing the real Jessica for the first time. The mask of the perfect daughter and wife was gone. I stood up. "I think you should go with your parents for the night," I said. "We'll have nothing more to talk about right now." She continued to scream at me, but I did not respond. I just looked at her father. After a long moment, he nodded slowly, stood up, and took his daughter by the arm. I watched them leave. Then I locked the door behind them and finally let myself breathe. Update 2. The moment Jessica and her parents were gone, I started moving. The shock had worn off, replaced by a cold, sharp focus. Sarah had recommended her lawyer, a woman known for being aggressive and thorough in custody disputes. I called her first thing Monday morning and retained her services. My lawyer's advice was simple and brutal. I was dealing with a narcissist who felt no remorse, only anger at being caught. She would use the children as weapons. I had to get ahead of her. That day, I went to the bank and opened a new account in my name only. I had my paycheck redirected there. I took half of our joint savings and moved it into the new account. I changed the passwords on all our utility bills and financial accounts. I was cutting off her access and creating a clear line of separation. I also started a journal, as my lawyer instructed. I documented everything. I wrote down every lie Jessica had told me over the past year, referencing them with the evidence Sarah had provided. I detailed the confrontation, her complete lack of remorse, and her immediate blame shifting. I logged every manipulative text message she and her family sent me over the next few days, and there were many. Her parents, after their initial shock, quickly fell back in line to support their daughter. They called me, telling me I was tearing my family apart over a small mistake. They said I needed to forgive her for the sake of my daughters. Jessica sent me a barrage of texts, alternating between threats and pleas. She said if I did not let her come home, she would tell everyone I was an abusive husband. Then she would say she missed the girls, and that we had to make it work for them. Not once did she apologize. Not once did she take responsibility. I responded to none of it. On the advice of my lawyer, my only communication was a single, registered letter sent to her at her parents' address. It was a formal notice of my intent to file for divorce and a request that all future communication go through our legal counsel. The final piece was David, her affair partner. Sarah was already filing for divorce. But she and I agreed that simply ending their marriages was not enough. They needed to face real, world consequences for their actions. David worked as a regional manager for a large, family-owned company. His employee handbook had a strict morality clause about conduct that could damage the company's reputation. Sarah and I compiled a package. It contained the most damning evidence: hotel receipts paid for with his corporate card, photos of him and Jessica together, and screenshots of texts where he discussed leaving work early for their meetups. We sent the package anonymously to the head of his company's HR department and to the company's founder. 2 weeks later, David was fired. The official reason was misuse of company funds. His career was in ruins. Jessica had not just lost her marriage. She had lost her affair partner and the fantasy life she had built with him. She was left with nothing but the consequences of her choices, living in her childhood bedroom at her parents' house. She had lost complete control of the situation, and I was just getting started. Update 3. After 2 months of silence, punctuated only by terse emails between our lawyers, Jessica requested a meeting. She said she wanted to discuss the girls and establish a more amicable co-parenting plan. My lawyer was suspicious, but advised me to go. A family court judge would look favorably on any attempt to be civil. I set the terms. We would meet at a neutral public place, a noisy cafe halfway between my house and her parents' home. I would bring a friend, who would sit at a nearby table, just to have a witness. The woman who walked into the cafe looked nothing like the confident, defiant person I had kicked out of my house. She was thin and pale. Her hair was messy. She looked exhausted. The narcissistic rage had been replaced by a hollow-eyed desperation. She started by talking about the girls. She said she missed them terribly. She showed me pictures of them on her phone, as if I did not see them every single day. It was all a performance, an attempt to build a bridge back to the life she had lost. Then came the apology I had waited months to hear. It was weak and filled with excuses. "I know I made a mistake," she said, staring at her hands. "I was unhappy, and I was lonely. David gave me attention. It was wrong, but I was not thinking straight." She never once mentioned the lies, the gaslighting, or the cruelty. Her apology was for the act, not for the profound betrayal of trust. "I'm in therapy now," she continued. "I'm working on myself. I know we can't go back to the way things were, but for Lily and Mia, we have to try. They need their mother and father together." I let her finish. I listened to her entire speech without interrupting. When she was done, I took a slow sip of my coffee. "No," I said. The word was quiet, but it landed with the force of a physical blow. Tears welled in her eyes. "But the girls, they need a family." "They have a family," I replied, my voice cold and steady. "They have a father who loves them and provides a stable, honest home for them. What they do not need is to grow up in a house with a mother who lies and a father who can never trust her again. They do not need to see a marriage that is a complete sham." I leaned forward. "This is not about the girls, Jessica. This is about you. You lost everything. David is gone. Your reputation is ruined. You are 33 years old and living with your parents. You are not begging for your family back. You are begging for your lifestyle back. And the answer is no." I told her that the only thing we had left to discuss was the final custody arrangement. I told her I would be seeking primary physical custody, given her recent instability. I told her that our marriage was over, and there was no possibility, now or ever, of reconciliation. She started to cry, loud, theatrical sobs. But it did not move me. I looked at her, and I felt nothing, no anger, no pity. Just a vast, empty distance. I stood up, left $20 on the table for the coffee, and walked out without looking back. Final update: it has been 8 months since the divorce was finalized. As I had planned, I was awarded primary physical custody of Lily and Mia. The journal I kept, which detailed Jessica's manipulative behavior and lack of remorse, was a key piece of evidence. The judge agreed that the girls needed the stability that I could provide. Jessica sees them every other weekend. She moved into a small apartment an hour away, paid for by her parents. She has a part-time job at a clothing store. She is a ghost of the person she used to be. The narcissistic confidence is gone, replaced by a brittle, resentful anger. She is a terrible co-parent, constantly trying to undermine me and play the victim to the girls. But they are smart. Lily, my oldest, has already started to see through it. David and Sarah's divorce was finalized a few months before ours. He moved out of state to find work. Sarah got the house and primary custody of their sons. She and I still check in with each other occasionally, two survivors of the same shipwreck. My life is calm now. It is centered around my daughters. I pack their lunches in the morning. I take them to the park after school. I read them bedtime stories every night. It is a simple, quiet life. My house is no longer a place of tension and secrets. It is a home. Last week, I was looking for a misplaced toy in the living room and found one of Jessica's old magazines under the couch. On the cover was an article titled, "Is Your Marriage Worth Saving?" I picked it up and, without opening it, dropped it into the recycling bin. I no longer ask myself those questions. I know the answer. Some things once broken cannot be fixed. They can only be left behind. My focus is not on the past that she destroyed, but on the future I am building for my daughters, a future built on honesty and peace. And for the first time in a very long time, I feel at peace, too.